I got things back together pretty well the way I like them. And what I've done is I've went ahead and added the smoke switch. I know my wife, if I don't do it, she yells at me. So I thought I'll go to the drawer, and if there's not one in the drawer, I won't do it. Well, I went to the drawer, and the drawer was empty. It did not have any smoke switches. So I thought, there it is. I tried. Well, then right on my bench, there's a switch laying there. I guess I had pulled it out already. Oh, hell. On these conventional units, what I do is I take the lead out of one brush and I put it in parallel, snip the end of one of the on parts of the switch, and then bring the headlight forward and solder those three leads together, run this one back to the headlight, and then I take the other lead off the switch and run it back to the smoke heater. Okay, the heater is what makes the smoke. So the smoke heater and the light both run back to this right side brush, with the exception of a switch. This is off, this is on, simple, and I'm going to have it right just past the parallel of these brush holders, because that's where the end of the area is and where the firebox is going to begin. So this switch is going to stick just inside the firebox area, and I have a little slack. I can move it in and around as I need to. Then the other wire comes off of the left side brush, and it's very simple to tie those two together, the light and the smoke on this side, and then bring them back and shrink wrap, put a tube of shrink wrap on and then shrink it down so everything is protected once it's in the shell. So this is how you do it, and it's fairly simple. The wiring comes in, you come off the brushes, the leads are usually there, they're usually to the light, you just have to cut them, and I cut them about right here. I like to give myself a little room, so you can see that's about where they are. I'm going to route them more near the center, not on the outside. I did on the outside just so I can keep an eye on everything, keep it straight. And one of the things I do when it's leaking here, this bottom part casting is fairly porous, and the gasket under here is fairly dried out. So what I'll do is I'll take a very tiny bead of silicone like we have in the plumbing. The silicone I use is clear. There it is. Clear silicone, weatherproof, all this stuff, and it won't shrink and crack and all that. That's nice. And it goes on clear and it dries clear. And you don't put much on. It's a very, very thin, almost like toothpaste, just a very thin layer all the way around. Then you fit it down. You don't move it around or do anything. You just fit it down nicely and then screw it in and snug it in. I've done that, and the beauty of it is it's not really glue, but but you can remove it when you get done and you want to go back in after a while. You still can pry it loose and the silicone will tear apart, but it won't leak air, so that's a good thing. So that'll seal up this lid, and that'll get all the smoke coming out the top. And I fixed the reverse. A couple things here I want to point out. I felt there was a binding somewhere in this pivot point. I don't know if this is going to show you that or not, but there is a pivot point in that flap down there for the for this, for the part that goes up and down, the part that does this. Come on, focus. Yes, you. Okay, there's a pivot point right there, and I felt that somehow it was binding up. So automatic focus. Yes, automatic focus. I don't know what turns this off. So I ground out a little bit of the weight, and then I also put a drab of oil in there, and I flipped it over and put a little drab of oil in the joint for this thing, so it's nice and free. And then I noticed it was sticking out a little bit, so I went ahead and just put a flat tip screwdriver in there and just pushed it in just till I got a little resistance, and then I let go. And now it seems to be happy and working. You can see that part pivoting down there right now. See how it pivots? So I just put a little bit of oil in there, make sure it's lubricated. So everything's working now. Everybody's happy. The smoke is off. The other thing you'll notice when the smoke's off, you're going to have a little more power. I'm only doing 12 volts. So I'm going to turn the smoke on. Watch the amperage. Oh, yeah, went up to 2. Something's pulling more juice through the wires. I wonder what it could be. Well, sometimes when you're using juice, you get smoke. And maybe there'll be smoke. Maybe not. Don't tell me. This is all my demos. There we go. All my demos work. It's like, is it going to work? I don't know. I did 5 minutes ago, but I can't tell you that now. Okay, so there we are. We're smoking. And of course, more juice, more smoke. The other thing with more juice, you got more pressure trying to push air through, and so you're really stressing that joint. And if it's porous, it's going to leak. As you can see, there's a lot of smoke. But imagine if the shell was here, right? You see all that coming out, but you wouldn't see all this down here. It would be coming out the bottom or something. Some people like that. I don't think it's right. I don't want to use I don't want to use all my smoke like that. So a couple things to fuss about. Make sure that's lubricated and clear of this lead weight. And I did grind a little bit out. Got it nice and snug. Everybody's happy. I do this for my switch. This is how I tie in the smoke and the light. I don't do it down here because I like to have things where I can work them separately. Plus, now that I'm putting this switch in, the only trick is make sure you line these leads, this switch lead and this lead going that way, and you solder them, and then you join the light, and then you have the second lead that goes out, and this is your on-off switch for the smoke heater. That's all you need to worry about. Works great. Everything else is doing just fine. I'm going to pull the smoke off the engine. I'm going to work on that seal, and I'm also going to go through my bag of tricks that I just got at the store, because I did get a very nice spacer, nylon spacer, that I think will fit where I had to fabricate one out of a grommet. And so we're going to work on that and see if I can get a nice, and if it does, I'll show you what that is, tell you what the part is. So if anybody else wants to do this, you can get the gear, the screw, this, the piston, the housing. Best is to find a used housing somewhere and just go through it. Not try to find one new or whatnot. And then I use this switch. I like this idea. And I get this from, well, I don't know where I'm going to get them now. I used to get them from ERR. But I'll find them, just a little dumb switch, and then I just put it where I need to. What I think I'm going to do is stick it through the firewall and just have it poke out and do it that way. Okay, that's where we are, and that's what I'm going to do. Talk to you later. Bye.